They got to the idea, to the concept of the movie, and if in Lima there is an equivalent culture or this whole movement around the production of pornography, and how did they get to all these many symbols that appear in the movie?
Well, so many times the people in Europe think about South America or Africa like we didn't have a normal life. I don't know. The internet now in Peru especially is they have a lot of coffee internet. Yes.
Internet cafe, you mean?
Internet cafe, are so much of that. Yeah, maybe better in Spanish. Y hay muchos internets donde los chicos se pasan jugando videojuegos muchas horas. Además también la película está inspirada en momentos en los que recién estaba surgiendo el internet y poder evitar todas estas imágenes que aparecían era muy difícil porque los antivirus eran de baja calidad.
So in Lima, there's also lots of internet cafes, as you mentioned, and also specific places where there's actually youth playing there all day. They sit in internet cabins and stay there playing computer games and internet games. But the movie is specifically inspired in the times in when internet is just starting to come into the society, and that's why people cannot handle this amount of images and this new media, and it turns into this kind of chaos that we see on screen.
Además de eso, también los medios de comunicación como la televisión y los periódicos están siempre muy cargados de desnudos, de golpes, de cosas muy fuertes para en realidad distraer a las personas de lo que en realidad está sucediendo en el país y en el mundo. Y esto es a partir, bueno, supongo que desde antes también, pero sobre todo a partir del gobierno de Fujimori, que lo puso como una táctica para distraer a la gente.
So also not only internet but mainly other medias are very full of violence and sex. Also, and yeah, it's totally normal to see always a nude woman on the cover of every newspaper, and this is also very we see it that's very loaded in the movie. And this is something that is made probably intentionally, at least was made intentionally during the 90s by a very corrupt government, as was the one of Alberto Fujimori. And this is, of course, meant to distract the viewers from the actual news and tell them there's nothing much going on and let them think about these many other chaotic information. Yes, please.
Gracias. Bueno, buen esfuerzo y felicidades por el trabajo. Sin embargo, me quedo con una inquietud. Siento que es técnicamente un trabajo muy bien logrado cinematográficamente, pero muy excesivo en detalles de la pobreza y de estos efectos de la globalización adversos para los jóvenes, las drogas, la pornografía, muy fuerte. Y quizás preguntar qué receptividad ha tenido entre los jóvenes peruanos, por ejemplo. Gracias.
So her comment is there's a very strong depiction of poverty and negative impacts of globalization shown in the movie, and she finds this pretty shocking, and she would like to know how this is received by the youth in Peru.
Well, the movie, la película todavía no se ha estrenado en Lima, en Perú, así que solamente entre la gente del equipo. Y bueno, al menos dentro de la gente del equipo les ha gustado bastante porque a pesar de que es fuerte, también refleja un poco la realidad y cómo a todos nos abruma. Entonces, simplemente el director quiso expresar lo que él sintió al verse tan envuelto en el internet desde niño.
So the movie has not been shown in Peru as such yet, but all the people in her near circle who have seen it so far can identify with the depiction in as far as they do have the experience of these kind of shocking chaos, and so they can identify with it. And the intention of the director was just to show all these problems that actually for him exists and is something he feels very strongly. Yes, please.
En primer lugar, felicidades, me parece una película muy interesante, muy buena. ¿Hasta qué punto ustedes han pensado en la distribución a nivel de Perú o a nivel de otros países latinoamericanos? Digamos, porque, bueno, las mayores cinematecas, digamos, no son muy anuentes, digamos, a ver ese tipo de películas. Digamos, todos sabemos la dominación de películas del estilo Hollywood, ¿no? O sea, ¿cuáles son las posibilidades que ustedes tienen de que esta película se haya visto también, qué sé yo, en Huancavelica, en Iquitos, en otras ciudades latinoamericanas?
So he asks for for how they thought about distributing the movie and what kind of public it will reach, because it is obviously not a very commercial movie, but on the other side, it's very hard to distribute movies in Latin America, and especially within Peru too. So did they consider the possibilities of distributing the movie, or the limitations to when they took this theme and decided for this style?
Well, we will have Peru premiere on Peru in the Lima Independent Festival in Lima. And about the cinemas, we will try, and we want to win the tiger to have more possibilities to do it. But we will try some contacts. I don't know. We want to do it. And in the another cities from Peru, I will be really happy to go and show and mostrarlo.
Quería complementar la respuesta con que uno tiene que pagarle al cine para pasar su película, así que a menos que hayas ganado un premio, nunca llegas a verle una sala de cine. El mismo director tiene que pagar a la sala de cine para que le pasen.
Yeah, so we can add to that very often in Peru, independent movies especially, but a lot of filmmakers also have to actually pay the cinema to even show the movie, because they just don't believe in the local industry.
Yes, and maybe we will try to win the ¿cómo se llama? An award from Peru to do it.
Yeah, I was wondering, yes. I mean, we all know that Peru is still quite a Catholic country, yeah. So what do you think about the perception? I mean, it's, what you're depicting is true, but at the same time, like, harsh and direct. So what do you think, especially in the rural areas of Peru, what do you think the perception of this movie will be? I mean, Lima is still probably the most advanced city, but I mean, if you look, for example, in the outer areas of Arequipa, for example, Lima or like Arequipa, I don't know, what do you think? Because also in context of religion depicted, how it is depicted in the movie, how do you think the perception will be?
Yes, good question. Well, I think en otras ciudades de Perú debe ser mucho más chocante que en la capital, que está más cargada de estas imágenes de todas maneras. Y en la capital yo creo que sí están bien listos, porque la televisión y los medios los han preparado para esto. Pero sí, de hecho, en lugares más vírgenes, por decirlo así, no me gustaría presentar la película. No siento que...
So she thinks that it will probably be even more shocking for a rural audience than it is for us right now. That on the other hand, in Lima, most people are already familiarized with this kind of medial situation, and they are more ready to do this. But she is even skeptic as to whether they should show the movie in regions that are not really connected to this kind of modern situation.
Vemos pósters de mangas, de animes, está incluso personajes disfrazados haciendo cosplay. Vemos también que mencionan incluso videos que encuentran raros de Japón. O sea, hay bastante referencia a la cultura japonesa moderna, contemporánea. ¿Cómo es esto en la sociedad limeña? ¿Por qué de pronto escogieron más esos referentes de ese país? O de pronto es mi percepción, no sé. Hay en todo caso otros referentes que encuentro en internet como la Barbie ucraniana, no sé.
Yeah, so the question is, the movie features a lot of elements from Japanese anime. We can see a lot of posters and stickers, and in the end also they are disguising as a lot of characters taken from this media. So why did they pick this media, this form of culture, which is probably more present in the movie than other icons we can see?
Sí, definitivamente en Lima la juventud ha tenido bastante influencia de Japón, tanto sea en la música, en los animes, en los mangas, en todos los personajes, quizás porque de niños veíamos, no sé, Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon, y después eso se fue transformando a una necesidad de querer saber más de esta cultura.
Yeah, so actually Japanese culture and media has had a big impact in Peru for years. She mentions Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon, of course, as quite a couple of generations ago, and has kept on be growing into part of the youth culture in Peru. So that's why it's important.
Is metal also a big thing in Peru?
Tú apareces con camisetas metaleras a menudo. ¿Cuál es el papel del metal en la cultura peruana?
No, well, maybe you know more about metal in Peru, but no, I only know my character want to be different from her friends, school friends, and want to look different and more independent.
Yeah, well, in my opinion, if you ask for it, it was mentioned before that Peru is still a very Catholic country, and in that sense, metal is something that happens very underground, but has a very strong, it's very loaded with aggression against the whole system and the whole society. In that sense, it's a form of strong resistance, one could say. Well, thank you all very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.